right, we are, let's see here, live on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, X, Instagram. Are we good to go? I think we're good to go. Let's see if we can get rid of this banner. Gone. Let's put the music on pause. There we go. Welcome, everybody. September 25th, 2024, episode 280 of Mornings with Scott, the best damn business show for medium and small businesses on the planet. I hope that is that background. Maybe I should have put the blind down. Yeah, doesn't seem so bad. I did a test of it this morning, and it seemed well. Stellantis this morning, one of the world's largest automotive manufacturer. One of the largest manufacturers of cars in the world is laying off possibly thousands, mostly union workers. A lot of those, most of those in the U.S., in the Michigan area. Hard to imagine that the 30% raise that they gave the laborers to the unions just a year ago, I think it was a year ago, October. Hard to imagine that would have gone wrong. Why is this important? By the way, I'm not suggesting that shouldn't have happened and that the unions were wrong to get that kind of raise. If you're a laborer, you're working by the hour, you've got a fixed rate, and suddenly your groceries have gone up 80% in the last 3.5 years, or some crazy number, and your mortgage rate's gone up, your food's gone up, the amount it takes of dollars to fuel your car has gone up like twofold. I don't blame you for looking for a significant raise. You need it just to live. So that's not the problem. But why is this story important? This is a sign of a huge recession. I've been telling you this on the show for the last couple of months, and anybody's been listening to me. We are in a recession. It's getting worse. Stellantis is a sign of that. There's 100 other signs of that. But what's interesting is not reported at all this morning in the major financial news. Why would that be? Why would we not reporting a sign of huge layoffs coming in the state of Michigan right now? Michigan's a swing state, right? Michigan's a swing state. And it's an election season. This will be kept as quiet as possible. But don't you believe it? You're running a business. You're making investments. Things are in trouble. Govern yourself accordingly. So recent episodes. We're not going to talk about a recession today, by the way. We're going to talk about better things. Recent episodes, there's been this popping sound in my audio. And people haven't been telling me, so we went through a few episodes. We seem to have missed it. I don't know how that happened. So first of all, apologies. Apologies to you guys for having to listen to that. It's still listenable, like you can understand the words that I'm saying, but it's annoying. It's annoying as hell. And apologies to the guests that were on when that happened. Dr. Dapper, Scott Connors, Tom Pedersen. I think we've narrowed this down to having guests on the show while I am traveling outside of my super studio with the high bandwidth internet coming in. And so no more guests while I'm traveling. We'll see if that helps this situation. And we're looking at other solutions. I'm going to change the mic when I get back to the studio as well. We'll see what happens. You may know I missed a couple of shows, had a death in the family. Sadly, I don't know. How do you handle tragedy or setbacks and problems in your life? Do you fight through it, not take any time off, or do you let the problem take over, or do you have a strategy for this? My whole life, I've worked on the 24-hour rule. If something just sideswipes me and I'm frustrated or sad or whatever, I just go away for 24 hours, let myself feel that emotion, and then try to suck it up and get back to work and carry on. Just stop and carry on after the 24 hours. This worked pretty well for me. It didn't really work this time, but close. I mean, I am back at it right now. You ever see that parody guru guy on TikTok? He's an Indian parody of gurus. I don't know his account, but it's one of my favorite accounts on TikTok. I laugh every single time that I see him. He's an Indian fellow in English, but with a very, very heavy accent. And then you see the background is streams and nature and all sorts of things. You think to yourself, oh, this is going to be some wisdom, some life sort of stuff there. And then he says something like, if your day is not going well, just go home. Say to yourself, fuck it, just go home. You will still have your problems tomorrow. And every time it catches me, it makes me laugh, similar to my 24-hour rule. Let's talk, where are we doing on Instagram? Okay, let's talk Smartsheet. Smartsheet, which I had never heard of until yesterday. Is a SaaS company, software as a service platform, designed to help organizations manage work and collaborate on projects. It combines elements of project management, workflow automation, collaboration tools on a spreadsheet-like interface. So the first cool thing about that is that sounds like a product I've been looking for forever. So maybe I'll take a look at that. Wall Street Journal reports that Smartsheet has an offer that it's accepted to be taken private by PE firms in an $8.4 billion deal. Smartsheet has agreed to be acquired and taken private by Blackstone and Vista Equity Partners in an all-cash transaction valued at $8.4 billion. Under the terms of the deal, Blackstone and Vista would acquire the work management software company for $56.50 a share, which is a premium to yesterday's closing price of $52.09. That was yesterday, 2 days ago. Shares were up, obviously, as a result. The acquisition agreement, listen to this, includes a 45-day go shop provision that allows Smartsheet to solicit competing bids. And so the financial players, the private equity funds come in and they say, okay, let's work out this deal. The board agrees to it because they think it's a good transaction. But then they say, well, it's our fiduciary obligation to get the most money we can for shareholders. And so we're going to go shop your deal around. And the PE fund says, fine, you can go do that. But if you go with somebody else, you have to pay us a huge break fee for not doing our deal and all the work that we've done. I'm sorry, my laptop's just putting pop-ups in my face nonstop here. Damn Apple people. Anyway, so there's a go shop deal. Deal's expected to close January 31. Upcoming, it was unanimously approved by the board. And if completed, obviously, Smartsheet would no longer be a public company. Shareholders would be paid by the PE funds. It would be a privately owned company, and its shares would not be on the market. So, interesting question here. Why? Why would a private equity firm or two take a successful public company private? Aren't they in the business, PE funds, of buying private companies, maybe using them as a platform, building them up, and then taking them public so that they can exit and get their money back for their limited partners? Isn't that the whole business of a PE fund? Or maybe they sell it to the next PE fund that's larger than them. You know, that's another exit opportunity for them. Well, perhaps the company is significantly undervalued as a public company. By how much? Well, that would be hard to say, but I would think, if you just press me, hey, why would a PE fund invest and take a company private? I would say, well, it's undervalued, and that PE fund maybe is looking for 20% a year gain, something like that. So that's the undervalue. But then you never know. You never know with a PE fund. You always need to know the fund itself, the specific limited partnership fund, how much money is in it, how much time is left for them to get that money out, and therefore how much pressure they have. Because early days of a fund where they have a bunch of money that they're willing to spend, obviously they're looking for a deal that meets their target rate of return. You get them later and you haven't done those deals and you need to get the money out, well, you're willing to cave a little bit. Maybe you're even prepared just to trade dollars because you got to get the money out so that you can start realizing on your fees and getting on to the next fund and all that sort of stuff. So the exit really needs to be managed by PE funds and venture capital funds. You should always remember that if you're looking to sell to a PE fund. So this company in particular, what was it called again? Smartsheet has trailing 12-month revenue of $712 million, which is up from $385 million in 2021. But on 712 million as a software company, it has an operating loss of a whopping $238 million. Why? Because their SG&A trailing 12 months is 582 million. So revenue is 700 million and SG&A expenses, your fixed costs of basically 600 million. What the? And their SG&A grew from 301 million in 2021 to 582 million. So they're carrying a bunch of expenses, and it has never, ever, ever made money. Stock in 2021 was at a high of $84.41, now $55. My bet here, I don't have enough. I find this story weird, and I'm not going to invest in it. I'm just going to watch this a little bit and see where it goes and see if it becomes more clear. But my early bet, based on my iPhone research on an airplane last night, is that the PE funds think there's significant cost reduction that can be done here, get the company profitable and cash flowing like it should. Because remember, a PE fund is valued based on cash flow. This is not a public markets play anymore. It's valued on cash flow predominantly or always. And so generating cash is sort of an important component of an investment. And the way to generate cash in this business is to hugely cut those expenses. And so we'll see. We'll see where that goes, but it just seems it's weird to me right now. Also reported in the Wall Street Journal maybe a week ago, I've been saving this story. A U.S. shareholder urges Kanaxis to explore a sale after years of, quote, self-inflicted, quote, problems. Kanaxis is also a SaaS company, this one in my former hometown of Ottawa, Canada, which used to, and I assume still does, bills itself as the high-tech center of Canada. Waterloo, I guess, would be the competing play there, maybe Vancouver as well. And so the Ottawa-based supply chain management software provider, Kanaxis Inc., which is on the Toronto Exchange, KXS, should put itself up for sale as soon as possible. One of the company's shareholders is urging. And by the way, we should just get you some financials on Kanaxis for relevance. So they do 450 million in revenue, trailing 12 months. That's probably Canadian dollars, so not apples to apples. And they do make money, but they only make $20 million of operating profit. And that's sort of consistent year over year because they have a whopping 256 million. Actually, let me give you a better number, $170 million and SG&A. So again, they're carrying a ton of expenses to generate what ought to be just recurring revenue, which tells me without further research that they're probably doing a lot more development and maintenance and adding features and looking to grow their revenue base, which isn't going that well for them. Daventry, Daventry Group LP, an investment firm that owns roughly 1.4% of Kanaxis, sent in a Monday's letter. This would have been last Monday, like 2 Mondays ago. It would have been to a letter to the board of directors that years of self-inflicted and avoidable mistakes have left Kanaxis dramatically undervalued relative to its peers. The call for a sale is being made less than 2 weeks after Kanaxis chief executive officer announced plans to retire at the end of this year. And the chief sales officer abruptly left the company after just 5 months in the role. Not a good sign. This, quote, massive vacuum in leadership, end quote, created by the surprise executive departures makes the immediate initiation of a sales process imperative, according to these Daventry people. However, Montreal-based investment, well, that doesn't matter. There's a shareholder in Canada, a institutional shareholder with 11% that disagrees with that. And they think that the revenue is about to explode and it will generate value, and that's a better way to go. Why would we give that away in a sale to a third party? Daventry, meanwhile, argues that Kanaxis' board recent hiring track record makes it abundantly clear that it cannot be trusted to install the next generation of leadership at this critical inflection point for the company. It names 4 executives. The company's former president, chief strategy officer, chief marketing officer, vice president of key accounts have all left Kanaxis since the start of this year. I mean, this is just chaos and drama in Ottawa. Clearly, a shocking amount of turnover in key roles, says the letter. I love Ottawa software stories because they almost always have drama and character associated with them. If you're from that town, you know, maybe that's true in all software companies, but it's certainly true in Ottawa, in my experience. In his letter, Mr. Destig said Kanaxis rivals such as Manhattan Associates, Descartes Group, I'm not pronouncing that properly, I'm sure, and SBS Commerce have all seen their shares rise between 80 to 150% from the end of 2020. Remember on Smartsheet, we were talking 2021 comparison, but from the end of 2020 to now, these comparatives have gone up 80 to 150%, whereas Kanaxis shares have fallen by nearly 20% over the same period. That underperformance, he argues in the letter, is a result of poorly executed expansion strategy in the software industry. Expansion generally involves cross-selling and upselling to customers, but he goes on to say basically they had no people doing that. They only had 4 people up to 20 out of their 1,500 people up to 2023. So he's looking for a sale to a strategic partner. And if you do that, he says you can close the valuation gap with your peers. And BMO Capital Markets, Bank of Montreal Capital Markets, analysts said that the uncertainty created by the CEO transition has substantially increased the possibility that Kanaxis will become a potential acquisition target. He says there is a large discount, a huge discount between the current valuation in the public markets of this company and its value to a potential strategic or financial buyer. He says that hostile deals are uncommon in the tech sector. Until now, our view is that KXS would likely be receptive to an offer. Okay, what is this all about? What I really want to talk to you about today, relevant to your own business, is the concept of financial purchasers versus strategic purchasers. And to do that, let's talk about the definition of value. Value mathematically, excuse me for that, I've got allergies kicking in, so I put you on mute for a minute. Value by definition, mathematically, is the future. If I buy your business, what's relevant to me is the amount. It's not how much money you made in the past. It's not your revenue in the past, your EBITDA in the past. It's none of those things. It's how much money I can put in my pocket in the future after tax, discounted for time. In other words, $1 today is not the same as $1 5 years from now, discounted for time and discounted for risk. That literally is value mathematically, okay? The future cash I can put in my pocket, discounted after tax, discounted for time and discounted for risk. So what is a financial purchaser? A financial purchaser is a purchaser that is buying the value of your business on a standalone basis. In other words, you have a business, it does $1 million in free cash. I buy your business, I'm really buying that $1 million of free cash, which hopefully has a little growth rate attached to it. And that is why I'm buying your business. I have no other purpose. And so I'm a financial purchaser purely, that's what I'm looking for. And I'm willing to pay the discounted value for risk and time of that $1 million. Okay, the financial purchaser would include people like the stock market. The stock market is a financial purchaser. It is each individual shareholder is a financial purchaser, and they trade, and stocks go up and stocks go down, depending on a whole bunch of things. But at the end of the day, they're not strategic purchasers. There's financial purchasers and strategic purchasers. And so when we as business evaluators are looking for comparisons, because we want to say, oh, this industry trades at 6 times EBITDA or 8 times EBITDA. Where do we get that from? Well, to a large degree, we look at comparables that are publicly traded, and we say, hey, all these shareholders have collectively decided that this is an 8 times multiple industry. All sorts of other factors, but in general, That's what that is. And so financial players include public shareholders, and they also include private equity funds and other types of funds. Okay, now they may be quasi-strategic in the sense that they might be buying you and taking Smartsheet private because they have some sort of strategic play in the sense that they own another company in a similar sector and they can merge them together. But for the most part, you should think of PE as financial players. And financial players are playing for the future money that will generate from your business as a standalone, okay? Strategic purchasers are also somewhat interested in, say, the $1 million of EBITDA that you're generating, but they're also mostly interested in the strategic benefits of taking your company and merging it with their company. It's the synergy. It's the 1 + 1 = 3. That's the difference between a financial purchaser and a strategic purchaser. So back in the days, because I've referenced Ottawa, in let's say late 90s, 2000, I was doing a ton of software and other tech development work. But in the software, it was very common in Ottawa. You would have 2 or 3 guys, usually guys back in those days, in their garage, created a world-beating software product, and nobody cared. Nobody cared because they didn't have any distribution. So they were able to sell, say, $1 million revenue, and that seemed to be sustainable, right, of this software. And then after their expenses, they were making no money. They were making no money because, there was 3 or 4 guys, and so they all needed some salary, and there was a rent, and there was this expense and that hardware expense. And so basically they were making no money. So if I went as a financial purchaser and bought that business, what would it be worth? Well, I've already given you the mathematical definition of value. There is no money in the future after tax to put in my pocket. Therefore, the business is worth 0 to me as a financial purchaser. But what would that business be worth to Microsoft back in the day, which dominated everything? What if they had millions of users and they could just bolt on your product and generate an incremental $1 billion of revenue, just making up a huge number with very little incremental cost? That is a strategic purchaser. Would Microsoft, in that case, in that extreme example, if they could make $1 billion extra revenue and extra profit, would they be willing to pay you more than 0 for your business, which is what your business is worth to a standalone purchaser, to a financial purchaser? Well, of course they would. Of course they would. And those were the deals that happened all the time back there. And I love telling that story because it is a terrific example of the difference between a strategic purchaser and a financial purchaser. So where does this all leave us? Well, if we are investors, and I remind you, I do not give you investing advice on this show. I sometimes like to give you my thinking, which you should not listen to. From a securities perspective, my thinking on how to manage your business and raise capital and sell your business, and that I'm all good at that stuff. But individual, personal, financial planning, I'm neither registered nor qualified to give you advice on that, so I don't. But I will tell you what I'm doing with myself. I just think this Smartsheet story is weird. I wonder what's going on when they go to the market for that 45-day period. That's to find a strategic purchaser. It's not to find a financial purchaser that's going to pay more than the 2 private equity funds. That's not going to happen. So will they find a strategic? I'm assuming not. Otherwise, one would have come out of the woodwork already. But I don't understand this story, and there's something more going on behind the scenes, and I'm willing to bet it has everything to do with what's going on in the private equity funds, not what's going on with Smartsheet. The Kanaxis story, however, this seems to me just very clear that they make some money and there is a huge strategic premium. Both the competing stakeholders, shareholders who are looking to do something to unlock unrealized value, they have different strategies, but they both agree there's unrealized value. I think at the end of the day, this company will probably be put to market. I think the pressure is going to be too much for them. That is my bet, and I'm going to look at perhaps an options trade on this company. We will see. If I were a smart and selfish talk show host or podcast host, I would have made that trade already, but I haven't had time. So there you go. You can get ahead of me if you want to. But if we're not investing and we're a business owner, and I've done some coaching in the last couple of weeks with business owners that had bought my business course, link in the notes. And with that, you get 2 30-minute coaching sessions for free. Well, largely what we've been talking about is how to position those businesses for sale. And I will say this to you: if you want to position your business, your private business, small business even, or medium-sized business for sale, do you want to position it for sale to a financial purchaser, like a PE fund, or do you want to position it for sale to a strategic purchaser? Now that I've explained the both, hopefully you're saying strategic purchaser. How are you going to do that? How are you going to go about that? Maybe we'll talk about that in later shows. All right, that's all my prepared remarks for today. I will see you tomorrow, 8:30 Mountains. Thank you very much for joining me. This has been Mornings with Scott. Talk to you tomorrow.